Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you guys know, we are officially in 2019. If I could sum up 2018 in 2 words, it would be lessons and mistakes. 2018 was a year of learning lessons and making mistakes, but that is not all bad news, because I definitely did a lot of growing and maturing in 2018 as well. So yeah, as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys today about how I got over heartbreak. But heartbreak doesn't necessarily mean that someone broke up with you, or it's not necessarily about relationships. It can be losing a best friend or losing a family member, or just anything that just breaks your heart. So for me, I was in a relationship for almost a year and a half, and in April of 2018 we broke up, and it definitely hit me hard because it was something that I definitely did not expect. And now I thank God for it happening, because I've just grown and matured so much and really learned so much about myself. So yes, heartbreak. So I am a Christian, and I was baptized in 2016, and after that, you know, life was great. I was on fire for God and everything. And then I got into a relationship, and I was like, oh my God, like, thank you Jesus, this is my husband, you blessed me, yes, we're gonna be together forever. And as you can tell, that did not happen. But the thing is when I got into that relationship, I kind of lost sight of, I knew that God was there, I just stopped paying attention to him. God was no longer the center of my world, and it all became about my ex-boyfriend. And so when he broke up with me, I just remember feeling so depressed. Like, I know it sounds so cliche, like, oh, you're depressed because my boyfriend broke up with me, but no, really, like, I was literally so depressed. I didn't eat for days. Like, I would just lay in my bed and cry all day. Like, I don't even know who I was. And I think that it just goes to show, like, how consumed I was in that relationship and how far from God I had strayed. Because anyone who knows me knows I'm like the most happiest, bubbliest person. And so for a guy at that to have that much power and control over me, to where, like, I can't even think straight, I'm not eating, like who was I to really let someone have that much power and control over me? So if I could sum up in different steps how I truly really got over this heartbreak, I feel like the first thing that I had to do was change my perspective. I had to realize that God doesn't put you, God doesn't put you through God isn't going to put you through something that he has no intention of bringing you out of. And 2, nothing that you go through is in vain. I just had to realize that, you know, my tears were not in vain, my pain was not in vain. Like, every single thing that I was feeling, that I was going through, was God was using it to form me and to mold me into the person that he wanted me to become. And so once I realized that, and I could stop blaming other people, blaming myself, blaming God, feeling regret and guilt and all these things that were consuming me, I was finally able to realize, okay, God, you know what? It is what it is. It happened, and I need to figure out how to move forward from it. I had to change my perspective and realize that this is for my benefit. And trust me, in the moment, it is so hard. It is so much easier to say it than it is to believe it. After I changed my perspective, I began to realize a lot of things. One, I realized that I totally lost who I was and my identity in that relationship. Like, I feel like I looked to him for validation. I tried to find my identity in him, and that is one of the worst things that you can do as a person, because that is way too much weight to put on someone else, for one. And 2, when that person leaves, they take all of that with them, and it's like, what are you left with? I feel like that was definitely my situation. I depended on him for happiness and joy and validation and identity, and these are all things that no man on earth can ever give you. So once I realized, like, it's okay to not know who you are, as long as you're not pretending to be someone that you're not, you know what I mean? Like, I had to realize it's okay. Like, I'm lost, God. I'm confused. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am. And that's okay, because once you realize that, you can realize, okay, God, this is where I am. This is what I'm dealing with. And I can give it to you, and he can begin to change my situation and just come in and really transform me, you know? The things that he can do with our mess is so unbelievable. Once I was able to realize where I was and pinpoint exactly, this is where I am, this is what I'm dealing with, these are my struggles, how do I move on from it? And I realized that, one, I had to find my identity not in any other man but in Christ himself. Plain and simple, there's no easier way to say this, but through spending time with God. And I'm not just talking about like, oh, I go to church every Sunday, blah blah blah, but like really reading my Bible and figuring out what does the Bible say about all these things that I'm dealing with. So yeah, it's definitely through relationship with God that I was really able to figure out who I was and find my identity in Christ that no man can give me and no man can take away. So one of the most important things I had to do to get over this heartbreak was realize that if it was meant to be, then it would have been. I had to realize that God's will is gonna be done in my life whether I like it or not. And when I can accept that, and when I can really truly believe that all things truly do, not some things, but all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Once I started to really believe that and know that, it became easier to accept the facts and to move on. I had spent so many countless nights crying and hurting and in pain, and I'd be like, God, like, I know you healed my heart, but why am I still crying? Why do I still feel this burden and this pain? And he was like, there's a part of you that still believes, like, yes, I healed your heart, but there's still a part of you that still believes that things could be different if you had done something different. And he just said, I just need you to know that there's nothing, nada, zip, zilch that you could have done, because my will is going to be done whether you like it or not. God isn't going to allow painful things to happen to you without a reason. And so the thing about heartbreak is when you're going through it, it's so hard, but sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize, why is this happening? I feel like God puts us through tough situations to either get our attention or to teach us something that he's trying to show us. And so I feel like it's our job to not look at the situation or our circumstances, but to look at what God is trying to do. Like, what is God trying to show me in this moment? And I feel like for me, God was trying to show me, Ariana, you got issues. No, I'm serious. He was trying to show me that I have issues that I need to work on. And two, he was trying to show me that I am so much better than what I have been settling for. And three, he was really trying to show me that if I could just get into a relationship with him, and if I could just pursue him wholeheartedly, the places I could go and the things I could do with him, things that my eyes have not seen, my ears have not heard, and I can't even imagine. The one thing that can help anyone, no matter their situation, is just getting in relationship with God. Because when you get into relationship with God, he begins to reveal to you things that no one else can, and he begins to speak to you in a way that only you can understand. Like, yeah, your friends and family can tell you things and make you feel better, but I feel like when you get into a relationship with God, he just really puts into perspective, and he begins to show you the reasons why he's doing what he's doing. Once I began to spend time with God, I began to think different, I began to act different. my desires and my wants became different. I no longer wanted what everyone else around me wanted. I just hope that you can change your perspective and really figure out, what is God trying to show you? What is he trying to teach you? He is positioning you to put you in places that are going to help you grow and transform into the person that he's called you to be. When you're heartbroken, it can be easy to go into isolation. I did it. I didn't want to be bothered by anybody. It's easy to push people away. Don't push God away. You know, like, he is near. If anything, being brokenhearted is a blessing, because God is closest to those who are brokenhearted. It's what he wants, is for you to open your heart and allow him to come in and heal you and give you peace and joy that no man on earth can give you. I feel like the only thing I can say is just get into a relationship with God. And you don't even have to be perfect. Just start by spending maybe 30 minutes a day, reading 1 chapter a day. That's how I started. Just read 1 Bible chapter a day. And a prayer life is so important. I feel like that's definitely when I noticed changes began to start. When I started a prayer life, I noticed that changes began to happen in my life. And I'm not just talking about like, oh, bow your head and pray. I'm talking about like writing your prayers down. Like, I had this little journal, but I actually had to switch to just full-on copy paper because I write so much. And just be vulnerable. If you can't be vulnerable with anyone in your life, you can be vulnerable with God, because he already knows. He already knows how you feel. He already knows what your desires are. He already knows what keeps you up at night. He already knows what makes you cry at night. He knows everything. And he's just waiting for you to open your heart and let him come in so that he can transform you and do a work that no man can. And so once I began to develop a prayer life, and you don't even have to be perfect, like literally I would be crying. I'd be like, God, I'm here crying, I'm so sad, I don't know why, my heart's broken, God help me. And he's like, that's okay, because you gave it to him, you brought it to him, you invited him in. God isn't just gonna kick down the doors and come on in and start changing things. Like, you have to be the one to invite him in and tell him, God, come into my heart. Please, I need healing, I need peace, I need joy, I want to be happy again, I don't want to feel like this. And if you ask him, you will receive it. All you have to do is ask. I feel like that's one of the most important things, is relationship with God and prayer life. If you can just start with those 2 things, you will definitely begin to see changes begin to happen in your life. Sometimes you just have to hit rock bottom. When you're at rock bottom and you feel like you cannot get any lower, life cannot get any worse than this, it's like the only thing you can do is lean on God. And that's all he wants, is for you to come back to him. See, for me, I had to realize that he was not my soulmate, he was only my season. And that was a really big one for me, because at the time I was thinking, oh, I can't give up, you have to fight for what you love, and I gotta fight, I can't give up, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And God was like, no, you don't have to, because he was only meant to be in your life for a season. And just like the seasons change, you've got to be able to change with it. You cannot stay in this season of depression and sadness forever. Now, don't get me wrong, it is okay to grieve. You take however long you need to grieve. I had to realize that I've got to go with the flow. The seasons are changing and I've got to change with it. And the very, very last thing that I did to get over this heartbreak was break the soul ties. And it's crazy because I kind of had forgotten about soul ties. Like, I was healed, my heart was healed, I was happy, I was finding myself, I was in a relationship with God, I was moving on. But sometimes I would still get sad if someone brought him up, or you know, those people that don't even talk to you. Oh, how's he doing? How are you and him? And it's like, excuse me, we broke up a year ago. You can stop asking me now. Just kidding. There was still this feeling inside of me that just wasn't gone, and I was like, God, like, what? I know I'm over it. I know I'm not sad anymore. Why do I still feel like this? And he was like, it's the soul ties that are keeping y'all connected. And I was like, ooh, he right. And so that was the very last thing that I did, and ever since then I've been the freest person ever. I have just been really figuring out what it means to live your best life. Once I have realized all of these things that I said in this video, I was able to move on from the hurting process of heartbreak and transition into this healing phase. In this phase, I'm doing way more of chasing my purpose, learning new things about myself, learning self-love and self-worth. Because I feel like when you're confident in who you are and when you know the truth, it becomes easier to not believe the lies that society can project onto us. And it's just so important. That's why I feel like I just stress so much is getting into a relationship with God, because once you know the truth, the enemy is always going to be there. He's always going to be putting those lies at you. He's always going to be putting little tiny thoughts in your head. Do this, do that, think this, think that. And the thing is, when you don't know any better, you start to think, oh, you're right. Like, you start to believe those lies. But when you know the truth, you cannot believe the lies. And the more time that you spend with God and the more that he transforms you into his self, it becomes so much easier to just rebuke them and like, no. This heartbreak doesn't even have a negative connotation to it anymore, because I realized that it's something that I had to go through. One, to grow through, and two, to become who I am today. Like, I would not be the person that I am today if I hadn't have gone through it. And so it's something that I'm so grateful for, because I just had to realize that pain builds character, endurance, strength, and these are all things that money can't buy. So yeah, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that it's because you are or you have been struggling with heartbreak. And if there's anything that I've said, if you listen to anything, or if you remember anything, I just hope that you remember to never lose sight of who God is, because whatever you're going through, it's hard. I know it is so hard, and sometimes it seems like it's never gonna end. It seems like you're gonna be sad and stuck in this place forever, but I'm here to tell you that you're not. There is a life after heartbreak, and it may not come when you want it, but it will come. I just hope that you guys can always remember to never lose sight of who God is. It can be easy to begin to place the blame on him and wonder why and think that he's punishing you, but it's like, no, everything that God does works together for the good of those who love him. I really do hope that some of the things in this video helped you guys if you are struggling with or have been struggling with heartbreak. And if it did, then feel free to leave a comment below if this video helped you in some way, shape, or form. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.